Mr. Ted Lieu, I just had one quick question. The 2016 Leasing Act that you authored, it specifically says that if the Office of Inspector General finds any lease to be violated, the Secretary of the VA can no longer go through a lease. Is that correct? You authored the 2016 Leasing Act.
I did, and the IG makes recommendations to the VA, and then the VA
over 50% of the leases violate the law, the Office of Inspector General said. And wait, just listen, sir. Your law said, though, that the Secretary of the VA...
So I expect the VA to follow the IG's findings.
But so what gives the authority to work with Thomas Safran? Shame on you, man. Hey, we were on Zoom a while ago. Senate is my name. Many years ago. Senate, yeah.
Well, nice to meet you.
Liam, too. Thank you. I saw. Are you worried about the recent charges and the issue with the council member?
No, because I think he's not guilty. I think it's very bogus. It's a political thing.
Oh, it is?
And I'm a witness to it, and I'm not being charged, but they make it look like I'm totally guilty.
Hey, would you guys as a group have any consideration to stop charging veterans the disability rent to live in the buildings? Because it's donated land so they can live on it for free, right?
We have him.
Huh?
He's president.
Oh,
he head of management. He controls what that is. Yes.
How you doing? Dr. Braverman, were you able to look at the CNH tract on Veteran Avenue?
I was not.
You really weren't?
No, sorry.
But you are aware that the Veteran Avenue 36 acres are soldiers' home footprint, right? Because 3,000 plus UCLA graduate students live on Veteran Avenue overlooking the National Cemetery of Veterans. So you could end veteran homelessness without costing us tens of millions of dollars that you just heard? Ethically, lawfully. You didn't know about it? He didn't know about it? How does he not know about that? You never looked into the CNH tract? You never looked into it, or you don't know about it as the former director of the West LA VA?
I think there's a difference of opinion on what it means.
So you're unclear if it's the footprint?
Folks are still researching.
Oh, you're not sure if the land on Veteran Avenue in Wayborn, the UCLA apartments, you're not sure? You said there's research being done to see if it's part of the Soldiers' Home footprint?
Folks are looking at it to see who has the authority to do that.
Because we had all this press to house 300 veterans, tens of millions of dollars. We, without spending $1, can house thousands of veterans today. In fact, UCLA students just moved out for summer, right?
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective. What's up?
Why do you keep grabbing him? You don't want him to talk to anybody? Clearly. No, yeah, it is. Good to see you. What are your thoughts on the CNH tract, though? The CNH tract, the thousands of students who live on Veteran Avenue in the buildings, the graduate students. It was supposed to be a medical center in 1948.
I'm not familiar with this.
You should look into it because you could end veteran homelessness tomorrow if the students move out and veterans move in. It's 36 acres of Soldiers' Home on Veterans Avenue. It overlooks the cemetery, the National Cemetery.
I don't know anything about that.
You should really look into it. I'll send you an email about it.
Okay.
But you could literally end veteran homelessness. They could move in.
Okay, yeah, send me something about that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Merchant, may I ask a question? Are you familiar with the CNH tract by chance on Veteran Avenue? You are? Sir, director. Sir, Mr. Merchant. Mr. Merchant? Mr. Merchant? What the heck? Hi. Mr. Merchant. This is unbelievable. But Mr. Merchant, may I ask you about your knowledge of the CNH tract on Veteran Avenue? I don't understand why you don't answer. We're coming back. Hello, how are you? Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
always at these things. Unfortunately, Jessica never got the help, and your office closed the file. So
I know we talked about it. Yeah, the close the file is kind of a loose term, as I was trying to explain to her. It just means that.
I know, but you just have to know that nothing happened. And did you look into the CNH tract at all on Veteran Avenue? I emailed you guys the info.
I did look at what you sent me. Yeah.
And?
I couldn't see the. Are you videotaping?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Look at all the cameras. This is.
So I'm not prepared to talk about the CNS issue. Okay?
CNH tract.
CNH tract. I'm sorry.
But will you be in the future? Or at Brad Sherman's office?
I promise to look into it.
You promise to?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll follow up. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone gathered here today for this important occasion. My name is Ron Griffith, and I serve as the President CEO of Century Housing Corporation. Along with our colleagues at US Vets, Thomas Safran and Associates, core companies, and VA, we are honored to be here this morning to celebrate the groundbreaking of 5 new buildings. These buildings will provide permanent, supportive homes for 380 veterans and their families. Together, we all celebrate the years of hard work, deliberation, and planning that have led to this moment. We are especially grateful to our partners at the Department of Veterans Affairs, including the National Office of Asset and Enterprise Management and the Greater LA team, who have been with us every step of the way, helping to realize our joint vision. Today also marks another milestone. We are halfway to our commitment of 1,200 homes for veterans. With today's groundbreaking, we now have more than 600 units of housing complete or under construction on the north campus of this beautiful facility. This progress moves us closer to the original promise that was made in 1887, when this land was generously donated by the Bandini family to serve as an old soldier's home. There are many others here today who have made this milestone possible. You will hear from a few of them on today's program. We would also like to acknowledge our special gratitude to the following organizations who helped make this possible. The California Community Reinvestment Corporation, the California Housing Finance Agency, the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee, the California Debt Limit Allocation Committee, the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, the Home Depot Foundation, Cedars-Sinai, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, the Strategic Growth Council, and City National Bank. As you can see, the construction of affordable housing is not for the faint-hearted. It takes all these people and many, many more to make this happen. So thank you all for your support of our collective mission. This campus is a special and extraordinary place. When the collective was selected to create a vibrant, supportive residential community on the North Campus, we were thrilled, but also acutely aware of the tremendous responsibility that we had undertaken. We firmly believe in our mission to provide permanent homes for at-risk veterans and their families. They deserve dignity, justice, and respect for their service to our country and for the sacrifices they have made. The legacy of Judge Harry Ferguson guides our vision. The judge was a U.S. Marine and a World War II veteran. As a federal judge, he gave voice to the residents of South Los Angeles who experienced displacement as a result of the construction of the Century Freeway. His wise counsel led to the creation of a state agency to replace the housing demolished by the freeway. That agency later became Century Housing. The judge would also go on to establish U.S. Vets. The judge's spirit informs all of Century's work to this day, to fight for homes for those without a voice. That includes fulfilling the original vision of this campus, to make it a place where our nation's heroes can rest, recuperate, and live in dignity and peace. Thank you again to all of you. We hope that you will continue with us on this journey to fulfill the promise first made to our veterans in 1887, to bring them home. Now I'd like to take a moment to make some special acknowledgments and thank them for their attendance today. Jeanette Christian on behalf of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, Gloria Toledo on behalf of Treasurer Fiona Ma, Jack Ender on behalf of State Senator Ben Allen, Jonathan Incavera, Field Rep for Congresswoman Pamela Doe, Ernesto Gomez, Field Representative for Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, Amy Perkins from Supervisor Lindsay Horvath's office, Roberto Alvarez from Supervisor Catherine Berger's office, Deanna Johnson Hall, who is the Executive Director of Cal HFA, Jamie Page from the Office of Councilwoman Tracy Park, Connor Locke on behalf of Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson, and our Central Board member, Rocky Young. So thank you again, all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. And our next speaker is Dr. Stephen Braverman. I'm honored to present Dr. Stephen Braverman, who is the Network Director for Vision 22 and former Medical Center Director for the VA Greater Los Angeles Healthcare System. A fellow U.S. Army veteran, Dr. Braverman has committed his life's work to the needs of our veterans, their families, and caregivers. The local VA team has been a tremendous partner.
Let's talk about the CH driver.
Transforming a medical campus into a community. We are grateful for Dr. Braverman's guiding hand and strategic leadership. Please join me in welcoming the good doctor to the stage.
All right, good morning. It's so nice to see so many of you again. This is the third opportunity. Many of us have had an opportunity to gather to celebrate the progress that we're making in providing permanent supported housing to our homeless veterans. On behalf of VA Secretary McDonough and Chief of Staff Bradsher, I'd like to welcome you all here to our campus on the West Los Angeles VA Medical Center. The VA Medical Center is part of a larger healthcare system in the greater Los Angeles area with 11 facilities, and that rolls into an 8-facility area across Southern California, Arizona, and New Mexico in the Desert Pacific Healthcare Network, which I have the honor of being one of the leaders for that at the moment. Thank you to the collective, Plus 4, and all of our benefactors here today. We can't make this progress without the support of others. The VA itself has enabled this project by putting in more than $70 million for infrastructure in the last 2 years, nearly $70 million again this year, and that will decrease to about $15 to $20 million next year because we got a lot of that base work done. But overall, as a result of the PACT Act from last year, our commitment to this project will be well over $300 million by the time all is said and done in the 2030s. Now, just as it takes a lot of partners on the developer side of the house, it takes a lot of partners internal to the VA to make this happen. So I'll give you some alphabet soup about the VA. Right, we talked about West LA, the West Los Angeles VA Medical Center. We have GLA, the Greater Los Angeles Healthcare System. We have the VISN, the Veteran Integrated Service Network. We have OGC, our Office of General Counsel, which tells us what we can and can't do, and then tries to get us to yes when we need to do that. We have OCLA, the Office of Congressional Liaison, or Congressional Legislative Affairs, to be able to work with our legislators when changes in law are necessary in order for us to build projects like this. We also have the Office of Asset and Enterprise Management, OAEM. They're the groups that work with all of our enhanced use, lease, permanent supportive housing, those rules that allow us to give and lease land to the developers so that they can build housing on top of that. We have CFM, the Office of Construction and Facilities Management. They take care of all these utility and construction projects. And it takes a lot of work within all of these partnerships to make the, chessboard work and move around so that these facilities can happen. Over to your left, in one of the areas that's one of our groundbreaking areas, that used to house a hazardous waste facility that stored our hazardous waste before going elsewhere. In order to make that location available, we had to move and build another hazardous waste area to make that work for this whole large master plan. So a lot goes into what's happening here. The most important piece, though, is that it's another effort to do everything that we can and be laser focused on our goal of ending veteran homelessness. That's the primary thing we have to do. Here in Los Angeles, last year we had a goal which we didn't quite meet of putting 1,500 veterans into permanent supportive housing. We got over 1,300. That was the largest of any other metropolitan area in the country, but we weren't quite there. This year we kept that same goal, and we're well on our way to exceeding that goal with over 700 veterans entering into permanent supportive housing so far as of May. So with continued effort, continued collaboration from all of you here today, we're going to continue to make it so that one day there'll be no such thing as that combined word of a homeless veteran. So thank you for all that you're doing for us.
Hello, I'm Tom Safran. We're part of the group of Thomas Safran Associates, Century Housing, and U.S. Vets, right? All right, good memory. We were selected by the VA several years ago, and we're very proud that we finished the first building on the campus as part of that group. The fourth developer who's here, who will be speaking or be acknowledged. Ron, what's, besides the three of us, the other groups are? Core companies. And you mentioned 5 buildings. I know we're starting one. Who are doing? You have a building under construction.
Yeah, I think we have 3.
3 under construction.
Right.
And U.S. Vets, have they started yet, Steve?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. And Core is already under construction or finished? Almost finished. Okay, so within days after we were selected by the VA to be the developers of the campus north of Wilshire of the remaining land, I got a call, a message on my voicemail, and unfortunately I lost it, but I want to identify this super active 94-year-old Mr. Frank Gehry, who He is a veteran of the Army, and he's here with his sister Doreen Nelson and his chief of staff, Stephanie Lloyd. Megan Lloyd. Okay. Megan Lloyd. It's okay to be corrected, and I appreciate that. What was his message on my machine? Please, please, I heard that you were selected as part of the development group for the VA. Please, please, before I leave this earth, I want to develop housing for veterans. And as a result, we selected him and hired him in building 402, which is under construction west of us, 120 units for homeless veterans and families. Is designed by Frank Gehry, and it will be done in about a year. So, thank you so much. So here we have one of the most famous architects in the world caring about veterans. He is one himself and making a difference. And 2 seats away from Frank is Ernest McFadden. Ernest McFadden is living in building 207, the building we finished rehabbing recently. And come on up, Ernest, as I introduce you. Ernest was born in LA, went to LA High. He volunteered for the Army in 1971. He served as a communications specialist and parachuted. That's challenging. 82nd Airborne. He deployed to Vietnam in 72, and he was awarded the Purple Heart. He left the military in 73 and began working for the government, issuing soldiers' IDs at Fort MacArthur. Remind me where that is. Where is that?
That's what we call it, affectionately called Fort Mickey Mouse. It's in San Pedro.
San Pedro, it's right here. Okay. Ernest married his now deceased wife Joanne and had 1 daughter, Jamila. Jamila, meanwhile, had 3 children. One is the youngest African American to dance with the Houston Ballet. Another one is in law school, and the 3rd one recently married.
Yes, recently.
So here we have why we're doing all of this. This man was previously homeless and moved into our building, and we are so grateful you're here to represent all the veterans that we are all so hard working together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to say a few words and thank Anthony for giving me the opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the HUD staff and CTRS staff here on this campus. Specifically, Ms. Mohammed at CTRS and Mr. Mullen. Every time a problem popped up, you know, impeding my permanent housing, they were on it. They handled them. In 6 months, I went from living in my car to CTRS and now my permanent house. Now, and as a result of that, now I'm starting to work out again so that I can help people. And more importantly, I want to go and visit and see my youngest granddaughter dance with Houston Dallas. She's beautiful. And I'd like to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity, you know, to stand up on my feet again, because it's very important for a man to be able to house himself and feed himself. And especially a vet, because we're taught to never accept defeat. Thank you very much.
Sir, I'm going to tell that I I truly appreciate your service to the country. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is Representative Brad Sherman. Mr. Sherman is a native Angelino, born in the San Fernando Valley. Congressman Sherman is a staunch advocate for veterans and their families, working hard to ensure their access to quality, affordable housing and supportive services. Congressman Sherman and his California colleagues in the House and Senate successfully fought for the passage of the West LA VA Improvement Act. This piece of legislation has been instrumental to our work here, creating supportive homes for unhoused veterans. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Sherman to the stage.
Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from America's best named city, Sherman Oaks. And for 26 years, I represented most of the San Fernando Valley in the United States Congress. And due to redistricting, I now have much of West LA, including this campus. It's an honor to be here to celebrate the groundbreaking of 5 new residences, which will provide another 380 new supportive housing units for veterans. I'm proud of being part of an effort to provide housing for veterans in a county that has 3,900 unhoused veterans, but 10% of them will be able to live in the buildings we're here to start today. This is Independence Day weekend coming up, and we should remember that we are independent and we are free because of our veterans. Obviously, it is not cheap and easy to provide housing for all veterans, but we need to do that. It's not easy to get the funds, and you should be aware that as we came within days of defaulting on our debt, the group that was holding us hostage was demanding a 20% cut in VA funding. We will see as the process goes forward whether we can restore sanity to some of our colleagues. And that's why it's so important that we pass legislation before the beginning of this year. I was proud to work with Ted Lieu under his leadership to pass the West LA Leasing Act. As has been mentioned before, Ted Lieu and I and Mark Decano worked to pass the Honoring Our Pact Act of 2022, which provides $360 million for this campus. This year, I'm trying to secure as a earmark or community project $3 million to renovate Building 158, which would provide another 49 units of permanent supportive housing. And many of us have got to work to end the injustice where severely disabled veterans are told they don't qualify to live here because of their disability benefits. So it's an honor to be with all of you, but I know Ted Lieu wants to come up and join me in asking Ernest McFadden to come back up because we have a special award for this man who won the Purple Heart in Vietnam. Okay. One of the neat things that a member of Congress can do is to get a flag that's flown over the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and give it to someone who's been of extraordinary service to our nation. And for those who doubt the authenticity of the flag, it also comes with a certificate proving it did indeed fly over this nation's capital. Thank you, Chris.
Good morning. My name is Steve Peck. I'm the president and CEO of US Vets. We are one of the collective partners and the lead service provider building these 1,200 units of housing. I'm really honored to be here today. I'm honored that you are here to celebrate with us. I'm going to introduce Congressman Ted Lieu, who is just here, but let me take a minute because he has been instrumental in the redevelopment of this campus. He is an Air Force veteran, having served in the JAG Corps and went on to serve in the reserves until 2021 and retired as a colonel. He has been on the front line to help us create this housing since the beginning. In January of 2015, he met with former Secretary Bob McDonald to ask about this campus, knowing that this really was an unrealized opportunity. At that time, we had perhaps 5,000 to 6,000 veterans on the street, and there were empty buildings here, and he wanted to put those two pieces together. And after that meeting, he said, we discussed how we can live up to our promise to take care of those who have sacrificed so much for our country. Later that year, Congressman Lieu, along with Senator Feinstein and then Senator Barbara Boxer, introduced the Veteran Care Agreement and West Los Angeles Leasing Act to restore the VA's leasing authority at the West Los Angeles VA campus, which allowed the department to partner with nonprofits to build housing for homeless veterans. That opened the door for the current effort. The bill became law in 2016 and facilitated 1,200 new units of homeless housing. So here we are today, halfway there. A lot of people thought we would never reach this day, but here we are, and we are continuing. Nothing of this scale has ever been attempted on a VA campus before, and all along the way we have had assurances that Congressman Lieu is ready to facilitate, advocate, and press any bill necessary that will help us get the job done. Please welcome the Honorable Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. Let me first say to Ernest, thank you for your service and thank you for jumping out of perfectly fine airplanes. Thank you, Dr. Braverman, for your leadership. When I was first elected, I remember looking at the West LA VA and reading about it and getting information about it, and it was, as many of you know, rather dysfunctional. It was so dysfunctional, veterans were suing the West LA VA. And I thought, well, that's rather ridiculous. So I worked with the then VA Secretary, worked with Senator Feinstein, and wrote the law that authorized the VA to create a whole new master plan with two missions: to improve the delivery of medical services and to provide at least 1,200 units of permanent supportive housing. In 2021, then I worked on the West LA VA Campus Improvement Act to provide funding streams for homeless veterans programs. And last year, worked on the PACT Act, which is going to deliver approximately $360 million to West LA VA for housing. And my partner through all of this is Representative Brad Sherman, who supported each and every one of those laws. And it's been an honor for me to have represented the West LA VA for 8 years. After redistricting, it is now in Brad Sherman's district, and it's in great hands. So we should give Representative Sherman a big round of applause. Now, all we did is we gave the opportunity for the West LA VA to be great. It is all of you that did the hard work. The community stakeholder meetings, the permits that had to be secured, the legal challenges that had to be overcome, the housing plans that had to be drafted, and the buildings that needed to be built. So I do want to thank the developers here, Safran and Associates, Century Housing, the core companies, and US Vets. I want to thank all of you for being stakeholders, and everyone here worked so hard for these moments to happen because you're focused on one thing, which is our nation's heroes, our veterans. So look forward to continuing working with you and Representative Sherman, and thank you so much for all you do for our nation.
I'm now pleased to introduce our new Cal-Vet Secretary, Lindsay Sin. She was appointed to this position by Governor Newsom on May 26th. This is the culmination of a long career serving veterans and serving this country. She is only the second woman to serve in this position and the first woman to serve at the cabinet level for Cal-Vet. She served in the United States Navy from 1997 to 2005, working in military intelligence overseas. She's been with Cal-Vet since 2011 and is very familiar with the challenges facing California's homeless veterans, the need for more robust mental health services and for more affordable housing. And she, along with Deputy Secretary Keith Boland, have been working hard to meet those challenges. Together with the Department of Housing and Community Development and the California Housing Finance Agency, the California Department of Veterans Affairs administers the Veterans Housing and Homelessness Prevention Program. This program allocated $600 million for the development of new affordable housing for veterans. And since 2014, it has produced over 88 affordable housing developments, producing more than 5,600 units for veterans and their families. 3 of those developments are right here on campus. I'm going to put in a plug here. That funding is about to run out. And there's a new bill at the state, AB 531, and which we hope will continue this successful program, offering more housing for homeless veterans and add additional mental health funding to treat the mentally ill homeless. I know that Secretary Sin will be a strong advocate to continue this crucial program. Secretary Sin has also served as Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans Affairs from 2011 to 2020 and brought the particular concerns of women veterans to the forefront. I've known her for many years and can personally attest to her deep concern for the welfare of California veterans. Please welcome Lindsay Sin.
Well, good morning. I'm honored to be here and honored to have recently been appointed by Governor Newsom to serve as Cal-Vet Secretary. It's an honor to be here today for other reasons too. First, I'd like to thank the Veterans Collective, the core companies, U.S. Vets, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Greater Los Angeles for all of your hard work and dedication in what will be these 5 new residences for veterans and their families. As a veteran of the United States Navy, a longtime veterans advocate, and the leader of the agency responsible for serving our 1.6 million veterans here in California, I am thrilled to see the extraordinary transformation of this campus, and I can't wait for its future. Today holds great significance as it delves into the very essence of what we do at Cal-Vet and what our partners do here today. We stand for the shared and sacred obligation of assisting and supporting our veterans and their families. But we go far beyond just a shared philosophy. We also support the work of this campus at Cal-Vet with our many partners, such as Steve mentioned, through the VHHP program. We've also built through VHHP over 1,300 units of veterans housing just here in Los Angeles County alone. We support the transformation of this campus in other ways because we're also on this campus. Our long-term care facility, the Veterans Home of California, West Los Angeles, houses 300 aged and disabled veterans just down the street from here. We've partnered with the VA over the many years, including during COVID, administering vaccines with Dr. Braverman to our veterans at our West LA home. And we've worked with U.S. Vets and Steve Peck for many years in outreaching directly to veterans in our community. And in fact, Keith Boylan, our Deputy Secretary for Veteran Services, also sits on the Veterans Community Oversight and Engagement Board, which is responsible for directing and ushering the future of this campus. So indeed, today strengthens and continues our many long-standing relationships and partnerships with those responsible for this groundbreaking. When this project is completed, West LA will be the largest veteran-centric community in the nation, and I couldn't be prouder to say that it's happening here in our great state of California. I'm also exceedingly proud of the fact that California, in particular with the Newsom administration and the legislature, have made unprecedented investments into housing and behavioral health for veterans. This includes, just in the past 18 months, that the state has funded the California Veterans Health Initiative. This is aimed at preventing veteran suicide and helping build out our behavioral health infrastructure all throughout California. It also includes the Veteran Service to Self-Reliance pilot program, which is giving service providers more resources to help care for our older veterans in permanent supportive housing. And last week, the proposal to modernize the Mental Health Services Act also was introduced to be included on the March 2024 ballot. And this act will include over $860 million to build housing for veterans who are experiencing specific behavioral health challenges and substance use disorders. Yes, please clap. So today represents a bright future. It demonstrates our strong commitment as a state to help California veterans and their families. And one day soon, these buildings will put a solid roof over the heads of hundreds of veterans, men and women who sacrificed body, mind, and soul to defend this nation and our Constitution. These buildings will connect veterans with the services they'll need to regain their footing, and that begins with a feeling of safety, stability, security, and warmth. They will have a place to hang their hats, and we will be able to finally welcome them home. Thank you.
Hello, I get to come back and introduce another special person, the Secretary of Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agencies. So this is the state agency that oversees housing programs. When we do these projects, some of them have had as many as 10 sources of funding, from city, county, state, several agencies sometimes, and federal government, and the private sector. So in this case, I want to welcome up Lourdes Castro Ramirez. She was appointed over 3 years ago by Secretary Governor Newsom to be the secretary of this department. And she's a Bruin. She went to undergraduate to UCLA and got a master's in planning. And she served in the Obama administration at HUD and also at San Antonio Housing Authority. She has a very rich background in this field, and we're delighted to welcome you here today.
That's right, I'm a Bruin, so it's always good to be back in West LA. Good morning, muy buenos días. As mentioned, thank you, Mr. Safran, so much for that introduction. As mentioned, I'm Lourdes Castro Ramirez, and I serve as a Secretary of the California Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, with responsibility for all things housing, but also with responsibility for working in partnership across state government to address homelessness. So I co-chair the California Interagency Council on Homelessness, along with Secretary Dr. Galley, who oversees the Health and Human Services Agency. But today, it's not by coincidence that you have two secretaries here, Secretary Sin, and who oversees and leads the agency of Veteran Affairs, and myself with responsibility for housing. And it's not a coincidence because we know, and you all know very well, that in order for us to be able to address housing insecurity, homelessness, and to support veterans on the path to stability and opportunity, we need to bring housing and services together. And so we're working in partnership to do more, and very excited to see the progress that is being made right here at the West LA Veteran Campus. As you all have seen, tremendous transformation that is taking place. This transformation is meeting the needs of veterans by building a community that will include 1,200 homes, and a community that will also provide a network of support to help veterans stay healthy, secure, and active. On behalf of Governor Gavin Newsom, congratulations. Felicidades. The state of California is proud to provide financial support with more than $100 million collectively across our several programs. And of course, we all recognize that it's unacceptable to have any veteran experiencing homelessness, any veteran who is not able to have a stable, secure place to live. In our state, on any given night, there are over 10,000 veterans living without safe and stable housing. But we're rising to the challenge. Thanks to state, federal, and local collaboration, we're making progress. Last year, the largest absolute decrease in unhoused veterans in the country was right here in our state, right here in California. As a result of, and this is really a result of the increased collaboration, the increased coordination, and the work that you're all doing right here in your communities on the ground. And we're continuing this work until every veteran is housed. Just last month, we joined the Biden-Harris administration. We also partnered up with the city of LA and communities across the country to launch the All Inside Partnership. This is a federal initiative that is focused on an all-of-government approach to reduce unsheltered homelessness. And we'll continue our work until every veteran has a place to call home. We're committed. We're very committed. Es un compromiso that we have to supporting local communities to build more housing and to provide the support that is necessary. In the last 3 years, California has invested over $20 billion to produce more housing, and we're getting results. Nearly 80,000 permanent affordable housing units have been built or are in the pipeline, and we're not slowing down. Even in this very difficult fiscal environment, the governor and the legislature have maintained their commitment to ending homelessness and to addressing housing insecurity. I'd like to now just briefly take a moment to acknowledge members of the housing team that are partners on this project. From the California Housing Finance Agency, Executive Director Tina Johnson-Hall. From the Department of Housing and Community Development Department, the leadership of Director Gustavo Velasquez and members of the team who are here. And of course also my colleagues at the Treasurer's Office. Treasurer Ma has been a tremendous partner in addressing the housing affordability and housing production issues of our state. I want to thank you all for being here. Your presence matters. I want to, of course, acknowledge all of our federal and state partners, private sector, philanthropy, local communities, and most importantly, Ernest, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for reminding us why we do what we do. Felicidades, and we're on the right path. Let's continue.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Secretary, for your remarks. I'm Brian DeAndrea, Senior Vice President at Century Housing Corporation. Today, I am very, very happy to introduce to you all just a wonderful local partner in the Los Angeles County Development Authority. And joining us today is Tracy Mann. More than 30 years ago, Tracy started her career as a case manager, and today she serves as Chief of Programs for LACTA. And in that role, she oversees a tremendous team and an even larger client base. We, on the collective and on behalf of CORE, have had the honor of working beside many of Tracy's all-stars, including Lynn Catano, Matt Lust, Sandra Schmidt, Vito Vanez, Beatriz Lopez, Alex Hong, and so many others. Tracy and her team have been front and center in the county's efforts to address homelessness here, including right here at the West LA VA. LACTA and the larger county team have also played a very key role in enabling what you see today, from planning and environmental support to providing capital resources for each of these developments, to providing the critical VASH vouchers that each of these homes requires for success. And so we would not be here today without the support of the county, LACTA in particular. Please join me in welcoming Tracy to the stage.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Brian said, my name is Tracy Mann, and I'm the Chief of Programs with the Los Angeles County Development Authority. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of the LACDA's Executive Director, Emilio Salas, a fellow veteran, but unfortunately, due to schedule conflicts, he could not be here today. But anyhow, I am so very happy to be here to celebrate the next phase of development on this beautiful VA campus and on such a beautiful California day. There are several prolific and mission-centric developers involved in bringing this vision to life, including Century Affordable Developments and Thomas Safran and Associates. The LACDA has had the pleasure of partnering with them on a variety of projects over the years. But the VA campus represents the most ambitious development of all. At the LACDA, we understand it is an enormous responsibility to provide to our veteran community, and therefore, we signed on to be in lockstep with the VA's enormous master plan. Collectively, the LACDA provided over $21 million in capital assistance, in addition to acting as the lead agency for environmental reviews, providing entitlement and zoning guidance, and serving as the plan check agency. Once completed, the LACDA will also provide 374 Veterans Affairs supportive housing, or VASH, and project-based vouchers through those two programs. But supportive housing for our veterans in need requires more than just housing. We must also commit to giving them the tools necessary for success. This development will bring with it supportive services and resources such as educational and recreational classes, employment and training classes, life skills training, access to benefit assistance, and referrals to the VA Medical Center for physical health care, mental health care, and supports to overcome substance abuse. The LACDA is confident that the VA Master Plan will go a long way toward providing not only homes, but a real sense of community with access to life-changing services, support, and guidance. This development will be a testimony to what is possible when we marshal our resources together to do what is right by taking care of our veterans. I would like to recognize the LACDA's dedicated team who helped in closing construction financing. I don't know if Alex Hong is here. Alex? Oh, hey, Alex. Leo Vanes? He is not here. Thank you. Our construction inspector, Anthony Lucero, labor compliance officer, Carmen Simon, and also the illustrious leader, Lynn Catano, who is the director of housing and investment for everything we do. I am proud of the LACDA's involvement and look forward to the day when we return here for the groundbreaking to welcome home our veterans. So in closing, I again want to say thank you all for your partnership, and to any of the veterans in attendance, thank you for your service, and particularly you, Mr. McFadden. Thank you for your story, and thank you also for your service. Have a good day.
Thank you, Tracy. So earlier today, you heard Ron Griffith mention the year 1887. It was a special year. It was the year this property was donated by the Bandini family. 35 years before that, Henry Wells and William Fargo came up with a unique way of transferring valuables and making payments. They grew and became a trusted partner to their customers. They connected distant places and peoples. Today, we are very honored to acknowledge and celebrate the modern day Wells Fargo, who's become an incredibly significant partner, financial partner here at the West LA VA, providing hundreds of millions of dollars of construction financing and tax credit equity on buildings 207, 402, 404, 156, and 157. 11 numbers. Those are big numbers, and while Wells has clearly funded the bricks and sticks that you see behind us, they also know that a healthy and a vibrant community is much more than a collection of beautiful buildings. And so in the spirit of Henry and William, Wells Fargo committed $1 million of philanthropic capital to launch our backbone organization. That's our entity which will serve as the convening organization to hold all of this together and create the type of community that you mentioned, Tracy. That is really what this is about. That backbone will support a career development center to help our veterans with economic mobility, amongst a whole host of other services and amenities. So many Wells Fargo team members have been part of this effort, including Paul Buckland, Shawnee Ryan, Justine Gonzalez, Christian Barmacats, Pete Canava, Mally Clay, Daniel Frizzell, Carmel Stella, Josefina Talavera, and of course, we couldn't do it without today's special guest, Greg Sherman. Please join me in welcoming Greg to the stage. Greg is Senior Vice President for Wells Fargo, leading California's philanthropic and community impact efforts.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. This is the third event that I've been to on this campus since February, since we cut the ribbon on Building 207. Every time, it's just so inspirational, and today is really no exception. So Ron, Brian, Tom Safran, Steve Peck, congratulations to you for your incredible work on these developments, and thank you to Dr. Braverman and to the VA, to Congressman Lieu, Congressman Sherman, Secretary Sims, Secretary Castro Ramirez, the LA County Development Authority, and everyone else here for all that you've done and are continuing to do to make this happen. I'm just honored to be here representing Wells Fargo, including those within our organization who have served in our armed forces, including Jay Hong, who's with us here today. And Kathleen McCoy-White, our Region President for Veterans Employee Resources Network. We take immense pride in being one of the largest lenders on this project, as we have a long history of supporting veterans, including employing more than 7,500 veterans and nearly 800 military spouses in 2022 alone. And in recent years, we have donated more than 60 homes and 75 vehicles to support veterans and bolster our families in all 50 states. And we are looking forward to the day when more of the veterans in our community will be able to move into this campus and to call it home. I want to recognize our community lending and investment team led by Vanessa Rodriguez and John Coe and their colleagues, especially Kristen Von Meerkatz and Paul Buckland, and the deal teams who worked to provide more than $254 million in financing to get these 4 buildings built, as well as Building 207 that now has 60 units for veterans currently in residence. The team, like all of us at Wells Fargo, are committed to addressing the critical need for housing throughout California, and they have closed a total of 33 affordable housing deals comprising 2,369 units in 2022, and provided more than $484 million in LIHTC equity and $1 billion in debt financing in the state of California. Now, in addition to this accomplishment of adding housing to the site, we understand, like Tracy said, that it takes more investment to ensure that once veterans move in to one of these 1,200 units being built, that they have access to other resources to help reach their full potential. And so, in addition to the $1 million that Wells Fargo donated to help create the West LA Veterans Collective, I'm thrilled to announce the fact that we're going to be donating another $1 million today. And that's going to support this campus's Career Development Center. The center is slated to be developed in early 2024 and open in 2025, and when completed, it will be a dedicated space for supporting the economic mobility of veterans through individualized career support and financial coaching that will lead to wealth building and support housing stability. This is one of the largest individual grants we have given in support of wraparound services to a housing development, and is a testament to Wells Fargo's commitment to bringing not only our business resources, but also crucial philanthropic support to address the critical need in our community. So in closing, just let me say thank you to all of you for being here today, and thank you for all that you're doing to make this opportunity a reality to our veterans. Mr. McFadden, please know that we value you, we're grateful for your sacrifice, and we sincerely want you and everyone in our state to have a safe and vibrant community to call home. Thank you very much.
Good morning, I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm Chris Neal, I'm president of the Core Companies. We've been developing affordable housing throughout California for over 30 years. What has struck me today is the concept of teams. Everyone's acknowledging their teams, and we want to reiterate our appreciation to all the teams that have been involved in making this happen and bringing us all here today. But in casual conversations with others in the industry, we talk about how affordable housing is a team sport. I think this is a perfect example of it coming together. And then I want to acknowledge the team of the Veterans Collective, Century Housing, Thomas Safran Associates, and US Vets. You've been very inclusive and collaborative, and we appreciate working with you. CORE has been involved in this project since 2015, but it really was able to make it a distinct move forward to actually coming to fruition once the Veterans Collective came on board and made it happen. So I want to acknowledge them for that. I also want to take a moment to recognize Brian D'Andrea, who's been a leader on the team. Brian, it's been great to work with you and see you grow and really make a difference. Many people here are aware of all the challenges that the team has overcome. It's all the challenges you're unaware of, the late Saturday night calls, the early mornings. Brian has really done an amazing job making this happen, and we look forward to being a neighbor here with you for many years to come. And I would be remiss if I did not show appreciation for my team. I would acknowledge Rich Trumper, Senior Vice President of Development, and Cyrus Jahani, our Development Manager, for their persistence and the commitment to the project. Having been involved since 2015, there are a lot of starts and stops and challenges, numerous challenges to undertake and overcome. And we're able to overcome them working with this large collective team. I want to acknowledge CORE's teammates who were involved in making it happen. So Rich and Cyrus, thank you very much. So bagging cleanup, I have the privilege of introducing Debbie Burkhardt, Managing Director of Supportive Housing for the National Equity Fund. Debbie has over 3 decades focusing on supportive housing and housing for veterans. Debbie and I first met over 10 years ago when CORE developed a very similar project to this in Menlo Park on the Menlo Park VA campus. Following that successful endeavor, CORE applied in 2015 to West LA to be part of the West LA VA team, and we were selected to develop MacArthur Field. We knew right away that we wanted to continue and work with Deb and her NEF team, and now, 8 years later, we are here celebrating another groundbreaking. Thanks, Deb.
as Chris said, I'm so excited to be here. It was 8 years in the making, and I represent the National Equity Fund. We're a not-for-profit equity fund invested in the low-income housing tax credit program, and tax credits are an integral part. They provide anywhere from 30 to 50% of total development costs in these projects. And NEF got into investing in permanent supportive housing for veterans back in around 2006 to 2009, but our initiative really took off in 2010. We've now invested over $1 billion in tax credit equity in homes that support homeless veterans across the country. I've been very grateful as a board member of the National Coalition for Homeless Vets, working with many of our partners at the VA who are here today. We have dreamed of the West LA campus being redeveloped. This is in California, my third enhanced use lease. I was an investor in the Sepulveda, 2 buildings that were rehabbed. We were also an investor with CORE in Menlo Park, and I'm just so happy to say that after 8 years, good things happen to those who wait. So we're very pleased that not just MacArthur A is moving gangbusters right now, but that because of these public-private partnerships, Phase 2 is right on the heels, and we are going to see that project close at the end of this year. And so I just am so grateful for the partnerships with the VA, with the state agencies, with the county, and everyone at the development team, of course, Century, US Vets, and Thomas Safran, and my favorite partner, CORE companies. So thank you for helping us bring Mr. McFadden and his fellow veterans home again and inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. We have a few more acknowledgments we'd like to make. One is we want to acknowledge Rob Merchant, who is the interim director of the GLA Hospital. Rob has stepped into Dr. Braverman's shoes with his promotion to the visit, and we've worked with Rob very closely since our selection of principal developer back in 2018, and we're thrilled to have an opportunity to be able to work with you very closely now going forward. We also want to acknowledge the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco that has provided critical AHP financing to a number of our developments here. Thank you to the FLIP, as we lovingly call them. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to a number of dedicated team members who have quietly and furiously been working in the trenches for many, many years here to make all of this happen. On the US Vet side, Lori Allgood, Lane Captain, Kent Trimble. On the TSA side, Tyler Monroe, Teresa Rohan, and Samantha Yu. On the Century side, Oscar Alvarado, Paige O'Donnell, who's with us today, Alex Samus, and Asher Simon. And on the CORE side, as you heard Rich mention, or as you heard Chris mention, Rich Chumpler and Cyrus Jaminian, who's also with us today. Today's event wouldn't have been possible without an incredible planning team that includes Andrea, Aaron, Melissa, Samantha, and our friends at Acton and Pace. Thank you guys for putting this all together. We're very grateful to Shangri-La and Step Up on Second, whose home we are occupying today. So it's 205, 208, and 209. Thank you so much for making this space available to us. I also want to mention at 11:45, we're going to break here for the shovel ceremony, but at 11:45 there's a very special thing happening. The Condor Squadron will be conducting a flyover. The Condor Squadron is a nonprofit organization based here in LA, founded back in 1965 by a group of World War II fighter pilots. They are working hard to preserve this piece of aviation history, and we are very honored to have them commemorate today's festivities with the flyover. So this concludes our formal program. Thank you for all being here. Thank you, Ernest, for your service and for sharing your story with us. We very much appreciate that. We'd like to invite all of our speakers to join us across the street for a shovel ceremony. And thank you for being here.
If you've ever wondered how Los Angeles is the nation's capital of veteran homelessness and suicide, I would encourage you to look into the 36 acres on Veteran Avenue across from the National Cemetery for Veterans. And what you will find here is buildings, beautiful, livable apartments that are for UCLA. Thousands of UCLA students live in these buildings. But what you must know is that in 1888, very wealthy and powerful people donated over 900 acres and several deeds to the federal government to permanently maintain a home for disabled and homeless veterans. Now look, before UCLA tried to make Soldiers Home a campus, 4,000 to 5,000 veterans lived on this property and called it a home. They were disabled and homeless, and they were being served and rehabilitated on the National Soldiers Home. And in 1948, UCLA told the VA that they would turn this property into a medical center for veterans. Does this look like a medical center for veterans? No. Over 4,000 veterans woke up on the streets of Los Angeles on the curb with no home, while thousands of UCLA students get to live on their property. This is outrageous, and we should demand that the students move out and the veterans move in.